Carbon taxes and cap and trade. A carbon tax is a tax on greenhouse gas emissions, usually based on the carbon content of fossil fuels that works to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by making them more expensive. The government sets a price on carbon emissions, which businesses and consumers pay when they emit greenhouse gases. This price increases the cost of fossil fuels, which can lead to consumers and businesses reducing their demand for goods and services that produce high emissions. A carbon tax differs from a cap-and-trade program because it provides more certainty about the price of carbon, but not about how much emissions will be reduced. Carbon taxes can be implemented in several ways, including taxing the carbon content of fossil fuels, taxing other greenhouse gases, or taxing goods and services that produce greenhouse gases. Carbon taxes can help achieve the goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions in a flexible and cost-effective way. The money raised from carbon taxes can be used to invest in green technologies or provide tax breaks. The burden of a carbon tax is shared between consumers, investors, and workers. Consumers may bear more of the burden if demand for goods is less responsive to price changes than supply. Cap-and-trade programs and carbon taxes are both ways to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but they work in different ways. Cap-and-trade, also known as an emission trading system or ETS, this program limits the total amount of emissions allowed and then issues permits to companies to emit within that limit. Companies that emit more than their limit are taxed, while companies that emit less can sell or trade their remaining permits. The cap on emissions decreases over time, which encourages companies to find cheaper ways to emit less. Carbon tax. This program sets a price on carbon by taxing greenhouse gas emissions or the carbon content of fossil fuels. The tax makes it more expensive for companies to burn carbon-based fuels, which can encourage them to become more energy efficient. It can also increase the cost of electricity and gasoline, which may encourage consumers to switch to cleaner energy. On an aside, and just a little bit of history, the Kyoto Protocol, a United Nations treaty that took effect in 2005, was the first to propose a cap-and-trade solution for carbon emissions. Some say that the effectiveness of carbon pricing schemes depends on the specific policy objectives and content. For example, a carbon tax can disproportionately affect lower-income households who spend a larger share of their income on energy. To ensure that the tax doesn't disproportionately affect the poor, some governments direct a percentage of the revenue from the tax towards low-income households.